This is really a play about life. And it's really a play about living and enjoying every moment.
A number of times the guy next to me got killed, and I didn't. For some reason, I was allowed to come home. If I don't talk for those men, who will?
It is not just the retelling of my father's stories, but it is sort of looking at a really universal component that has to do with war and how we get through war and what it means to be a person, you know, in this situation and how you get through that.
What those guys did over there was important. It was so important. Their experience is desperately important, and we cannot forget it. We cannot forget what it meant. From the moment that I moved here, in fact, before I moved here, we talked about Fayetteville and Northwest Arkansas as ripe for a professional theater. We believe in this stuff, and we don't think it's enough to just put up a great show and hope that the people who already know about theater will come. We want to spread it out and reach out to anyone who might have a potential love for this.
I am one of 5 founding company members who dreamt this up and started it out, and I work right now as an artistic associate director, so I'm mostly involved in artistic decisions and artistic endeavors. Theater Squared is separate from the university, and at the university I'm all acting classes, and I have taught a couple of workshop things for Theater Squared, both for kids and for adults.
You have to extend words that long all the time. You need the inner life underneath it to support.
When a theater company starts, space is a huge issue. There's an initial capital outlay if there is no space to outfit it with lights, with everything. Tens of, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars to get off your feet. And we talked to a lot of real nice folks, real estate developers and people with spaces, and trying to find something that would work, and ultimately realized that the solution was staring us in the face, and that was to go to the Walton Arts Center and talk to them about leasing the Nadine Baum Studios space, which is where we are right now.
Bob has written one of the best plays that I've read in 15 years. And when I was at all the other theaters that I was working at, I was constantly on the lookout for a play like this. Everybody wants to find a play like this, and it comes along so rarely.
This play is enormously personal. The time is absolutely right, and in fact even urgent for it to be done because of the subject matter.
I think that this is an extraordinarily important thing to be talking about at this time in this community and in this country. I think that the understanding of the war that we're in and trying to see the people who are involved in this war and all facets as individuals and what that does to people and how we can honor it and how we can look at the individual as opposed to look at the war.
There was one moment that I go back to more and more as the moment where I knew this was going to happen, and it was when Amy and I were visiting Normandy, and I'm of the Saving Private Ryan generation, where I never even thought about World War II, I hate to say. Did not appreciate what those guys went through. Anyway, we went to go to the beach where Art landed, which was Utah Beach, which is flanked Omaha Beach. I mean, I was a mess, not just seeing all the crosses, I was a mess looking at the diagram of this operation. The task of throwing back the Germans from their occupation in France was, I don't know how they ever thought they could do this. There's a phone booth overlooking this beach in the parking lot where this little museum is, where there's a model of one of the landing vehicles. Amy gets on the phone, it's 3 in the morning in Phoenix, and she calls up her dad, and she's talking, I see her talking and asking him questions about where he landed, and he's saying, okay, so there's like a stone wall that ran all along the, is that still there? She's like, yeah, it's there. He said, oh, I remember there being this church thing over here. She said, that's still there. It was amazing to see. Of course, it would have been better if he was actually there, but even in some ways it was even more interesting to see her on the phone and talking to him, transferring these memories to her, and it was in that moment that I realized Amy has to play her father in this play. I don't know how I'll do that, but she has to play her own 19-year-old father and experience these stories herself.
The Art character is actually, and there has been a lot of discussion about this, but I believe at this point that the idea is that it isn't exactly my father, it is me experiencing as my father. If I was simply trying to be my father, I would prepare it totally differently than me as my father experiencing it. Kind of like living in process, there is the question always of the experience for the first time and what did that mean to him and what it means to me to understand that.
It's not easy to give over creative control, and so you pick people that you completely trust. As producer, you have the privilege of doing that, but it all has to do with the fact that you do have to collaborate, and then it's a back and forth, constant back and forth.
The most important thing I think that you can do with a piece like this is be very, very honest and listen to your actors as they're very honest and make sure that every gesture and every line and every move across the stage comes out of what the character wants at that moment and what the character's trying to achieve at that moment. And if we do it honestly, everything will land. We have 5 actors and we play about 40 different characters.
There's 4 other people in the cast and all 4 of them are my students or former students. Abby Mullinex, who is a wonderful, beautiful actor. Chris Stoker is from Missouri and just outstanding. He's actually on his way to go work professionally in Cincinnati. Also working for us will be Justin Schauer. Justin is someone who graduated 3 years ago maybe, and he has gone off to Los Angeles and San Francisco and worked nonstop from the moment that he left. And then Jason Engstrom, who has been out of our MFA program for a year and has been working with us actually all year at Theater Squared.
You wounded? What's the matter with you? You wounded, soldier?
Yes, sir. I mean, no, sir.
What?
Not wounded, sir.
What the hell are you doing?
Yes, sir.
You're in the sand.
Yes, sir.
Get out of the sand.
Yes, sir.
What is wrong with you?
Yes, sir.
You'll never get off this beach alive.
Yes, sir.
Move on.
Yes, sir.
I've been lucky enough to be the resident designer with Theater Squared for the past season. And I worked with them before, last season on a couple of shows. And so I've been coming from New York back every couple of months to do shows. You start with the script, you have lots of meetings with the director and with the playwright and talk about what their intention is, what do you want to communicate to the audience, and then you start breaking it down after that. What is the location, or in the case of this play, what are the many locations? Because we go from Normandy Beach, Utah Beach actually, in France, to Mississippi, to other various locations, Paris, and many, many small woods. We didn't want the play to be, the representation of the set to be so literal that we were always in the same environment, because the motion had to be fluid. And that was the way that Bob wrote the script, was that we sort of fluidly moved from one place to the other. So we knew that the scenic design had to be open enough that it would allow lots of quick changes. We talked early on about how important the lighting would be to the play, and as a matter of fact, the playwright, Bob Ford, wrote into the script at one point, lights shift here, light shift here, and he said in one of the stage directions, we melt back into the small woods. And that really gave me a great indication of how to cue the show. Everything should be fluid and sort of bring us from one moment to the next, and not be sort of jerky, but as Amy, either as Amy or when she's playing Art, she finishes a thought in one moment as another moment has already begun. Lighting is a challenge in this space. We have a 3/4 round arrangement. Audience sits in the front and on two sides. So you have to be cognizant of lighting the actors for all three sides of the space. So often that requires a little more lighting instruments than typical. I use a lot of heavy side light in this theater, not only to sort of highlight the actor and kind of carve them out of the space, which is one of my chief duties, is to make sure the actor is always visible, because if you can't see the actor properly, you can't really hear what they're saying either. We tend to tune them out.
All my cues are here, and I'll be able to set it up. I've got a few that are hotkeys, which I'll identify so I can fire the hotkeys. But when I'm ready for a cue, I can set up a key, or I can just, have a go button. It will play the cue. When that cue's done, it will set up for the next cue. I can drop one cue on top of another. The first cue won't quit when the second one's running, which is good, because I've got some stuff where I've got one where there are going to be about 8 or 10 cues all running on top of each other.
You'll never get anywhere.
No, sir.
Name.
Hershberg, sir.
All right, Hershberg, listen up. How old are you? How old are you?
18, sir.
18.
19, sir.
Well, which is it? When's your birthday?
Friday, sir.
You'll never make it.
Last Friday, sir. Guess I made it.
All right, Milton Burrow, listen up. I'm gonna save your life.
Thank you, sir.
You hear a whistle. Like that, but no explosion first. That's them. Hit the dirt. Hit it.
Yes, sir.
Nothing, then whistle. Whistle gets louder. Hit it.
Yes, sir.
But if you hear the explosion first and then the whistle, that's our guys. Stay up. Keep moving.
Yes, sir.
Got it?
Yes, sir.
On your way.
Yes, sir.
That's an order, Private.
Right, sir.
Hey, Hershberg. Happy birthday.
We decided as a team that we didn't want it to be historically accurate, because we're playing with different planes of reality. There's the reality of Amy and her world, and there's the reality of her father and the war aspects, and there's another reality with the German woman, and so we wanted the design to be representational. For this play, the script was written very well, that it gives clues. When there's an actor that comes on in a new role, there's usually a clue in the script, and it helps the audience figure that out because it is such a small group of actors. So there didn't need to be very much distinction between them in terms of the costumes. Most of the helmets were rented from an Army-Navy surplus store in New York City. The German helmets are steel. They are either original or they're reproductions. All of the US helmets are actually, it is just the liner. We did not use the steel pot that goes on top of the liner because it's heavy. The two components don't stay together very well, and it's just more dangerous for the actor's safety. The white helmet is a co-worker's father's helmet from when his father was in World War II, and he has since used it as a costume piece. Amy's character has so much life to her. She's so curious about her father. I wanted to portray that in the costumes with a rich, warm color. She has a lot of warmth to her. With the German woman's character, I also brought in a lot of warm colors because I wanted her to appear friendly and warm.
These stories that I have grown up with all my life are pretty amazing when you look at it in the big picture, and really sort of the more I grew up, the more I started to understand sort of the relevance of these things.
We did quite a bit of traveling in the car. Like she says in the play, from Chicago to Phoenix and Phoenix to Chicago and over to the coast to San Diego or Los Angeles. And so we've done a lot of miles together. And quite often we would sing, and quite often to keep myself awake, I would tell these stories. I always tried to keep the stories light. I didn't get into the real blood. I didn't get into stuff like that. But as they got old enough to hear that kind of stuff, I told them that too, mainly because Amy, being Amy, she's very inquisitive and she asks a lot of questions. On a percentage basis, 90% of what they say on here is true. He's made up a few little things like jokes and things like that. He made up a few scenes that were invented in order to make the play be told. Things that I wondered how he was going to tell it. But the way that he did it was made up, but what he told was real.
I wish I could come out in front of the audience and say, you know, point out everything that's true and everything that's not. Most all of the stories are true. The events are largely true. There are a couple of places where I've had to take more poetic license than I would have liked to, but I've tried to honor Art's experience as much as possible. And he has had some strong responses. When the story is veered in different directions, I mean, he'll let me know. At one point it was veering into, you know, being a little more heavily about this anti-Semitism that he encountered. And he said, no, that's not what this is about for me. This is about being a guy with some other guys going over to do the impossible and face ridiculously horrible circumstances and how we got through it.
There is one part of the play that has changed my thinking. The young German soldier that I killed, that I always felt didn't need to be killed. He should have been able to become a prisoner and live out his normal life. But because of me, he's dead. Now that I see this play, I'm not sorry that, I'm not glad that he's dead, but I don't feel as responsible anymore because this play tells me if I didn't kill him, he might have killed me. I never thought about it like that before. Now there's another part of this play that Bob made up, and that is this girl who, she says, I'm the daughter that he might have had but never did. And the first time I heard that, first of all, she's such a beautiful girl. I don't know if you've seen the play. She's so pretty. And I looked at her and thought, I'm responsible for her not being in this world. And I burst into tears. And it still choked me up a little bit. But it doesn't choke me up, the fact that he's dead anymore. That was war.
Hey, Hertzberg! Dave! Hey! Oh!
There you are. Will you look at this?
What?
Look at this.
Looks like a wire.
It's a damn wire.
What do we do?
I don't know.
Do you think?
It's a booby trap.
It's a booby trap.
There's Sarge.
Hey,
Sarge.
but there's the thing.
What?
What do we do?
For starters. There's a real thing.
I hope that they will experience the transformative quality of theater. How theater can take you out of your own world for 2 hours and deposit you in another world. And how after you leave the theater, you take parts of that world with you.
What we want the audience to go away with more than anything is to remember. It's really it's a memory play. It's important that the generation before who were involved in World War II, so many of those gentlemen and women are no longer with us or are soon to not be with us anymore, and we want to make sure that their story continues to be told.
I hope that people will understand better what happened at the war. I can hear stories and I can see photographs, but there's something to be said about seeing it being played out for you, reenacted on stage with all the emotion that it carries, that it really goes right to your heart.
This is about transferring memory to the next generation, the people who are the next generation who tend to be, you know, they're already in their 60s, a lot of them. Then anyone who loves good theater, loves our country, is concerned about our country, but again, loves theater is our audience.
This has been an amazing experience, and when we came up with the idea, I don't think we understood the layers and layers of significance that it would actually have. It is, without question, the most meaningful piece of theater that I will have ever done.
I've encouraged men to talk about it because why are we keeping it a secret? The world should be told that war is a terrible, dirty, rotten thing. And maybe if more people began to know that, we wouldn't have wars. I don't think we should keep it a secret. After the show, people come up to me and say, my father didn't talk about it until recently. And then they began to talk about it because they heard about this show here. Well, I'm glad that happened. I'm glad that people are able to share it because they ought to know. I don't know what favor anybody is doing, even to themselves, because I also feel that talking about it the way I have since the day I got out, since even before I got out, it helped me mentally to get through some of the things that we did. And I think that's important, and it's a lot cheaper than going to a psychiatrist.
Internationally recognized band Mar is based in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Their most current release, The Sound, featuring special guests Zoe Keating and Anton Patzner, is a sonically brilliant album with their hit songs Mother, Star, Sun, and A Celebration. The Sound and Mar's debut album, The Silence, are now available. Check them out at ringroadrecords.com, MySpace, and iTunes.